Today we're going to install the Roll and Lock M-Series retractable cover on this 2019 new body style GMC Sierra. Now this is the same install on the Chevy Silverado. It's also the same install if it was the Roll and Lock A-Series. Let's go ahead and get started. Now this truck has a bed rug. If you have a drop-in bed liner, let me tell you what you want to do first. You're going to have to remove that bed liner from the bed of the truck, measure back 8 inches, cut down 6 inches and back in. You're also going to want to trace all the way along here 6 inches down all the way to the opposite side of the bed and cut out this side over there as well. Then go ahead and reinstall the bed liner. The reason why we're doing that is because when you pull away the bed rug, we're going to see we've got a little hole directly underneath the stake hole pocket. Now we're going to have our canister bracket that's going to hang right against the bed cap. When you turn that bracket sideways, we're going to see you've got a little shelf that's facing to the inside of the bed of the truck. You've also got a gasket that's going to face up against the bed cap. So that's going to face up against like so, and this small hole in the canister bracket is going to line up right to the hole underneath the stake hole pocket. Now, we have to be able to attach that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our threaded tang. It's about 1/4 inch thick. It's got a threaded hole in it. We're also going to get one of our flat washers and one of our 1/4 inch diameter bolts. It's going to go through that, and then we're going to thread the tang onto that. Now once the bolt comes all the way through, we want to keep that bolt from backing back out while we're putting this in place. So we've got a plastic retainer that's going to go right over the threads of that bolt and get it nice and tight up against the tang. Now with that in place, we're going to feed this into the hole to get this up against the bed cap. Now make sure the bracket is slid all the way up against the cab. Also make sure that this is level by eye up to the top of your bed cap. Once that's in place, you can go ahead and take a 7/16 wrench or ratchet and tighten down to the bed cap. Also in our kit, we're going to have a piece of buhl caulking. This is going to be 1 piece per side. Go ahead and peel that apart and take the caulking. And what we're going to do is we're going to fit it into this little area right here to make sure we have a good seal. Now on the tailgating, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and peel back the bed rug. I'm going to expose this hole that's directly underneath the rear stake hole pocket. Our rear bracket is going to look just like this, and it's going to fit in this location right over top of this hole. Now because I've got a little bit of Velcro here, I'm going to go ahead and cut that away so that it's not obstructing that bracket at all. Now with this bracket, we're going to do the exact same thing with the bolts. We're going to take our 1/4 inch bolt, go through a washer, through the bracket, and then thread on a tang just like we did with our front bracket. And put on one of our plastic retainer clips. That keeps that tang from falling off while we're putting this in place. Now, I'm just going to put it on there finger tight for right now. We're not going to tighten this down all the way until we install the rail. Now repeat that same process on the opposite side. Now, if you don't have the multi-pro tailgate handle, or if you've already removed it, this is going to install exactly the same way that it does on the passenger side. First of all, make sure that this bracket is lined up to this bracket here. This bracket up top, there's an aluminum tab that has a threaded hole in it. What we're going to do is, out of our kit, we've got a small Allen head bolt with a small lock washer. That's going to go up through. We're going to get that lined up and just kind of run in there finger tight for right now. We are not going to use tools at this time. We're just going to get finger tight. That way we can adjust things around. If these holes don't line up, we did not tighten this down so that we can adjust it. So just move this lower bracket around until they're lined up. Once they're lined up, we can go ahead and move forward. Now, if you have the Multi-Pro tailgate with that in-bed handle, let me show you how to address that. First of all, we're going to go to this nut on that Multi-Pro tailgate. It's a 13 millimeter. We're going to go ahead and pull that off. Next, we're going to turn to our rail. Now, on our rail at the very end, this is our driver's side rail. We've got a clamp position at the very end that's held in with a Phillips head screw. We need to remove that Phillips head screw. Now with that screw, there's also a little lock washer that comes with it. We're going to retain that and use it again. So we're going to pull this clamp bracket away. In our kit, we're going to have another clamp bracket that's shaped like this right here. You've got a threaded hole here and then an oval hole down below it. That oval hole is offset. You want that offset to be to the inside of the bed. And then when you slide it up into the track of the cover, the threaded hole will be behind this oval hole. So not here where it came out, it's going to go in back here. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take that bolt with that lock washer and put it back through our new bracket and through those threaded holes. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to get it started in there. We're not going to tighten it down all the way because we need to be able to adjust it once it's in place. All right, now if we move forward on the rail, we're going to notice this little rectangular cutout. That piece needs to be removed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now we're just going to go ahead and take the canister and set it up on top of the bed caps. And make sure the seal sits on top of the bulkhead. Make sure it's as far forward as it can go and center it side to side in the bed. All right, next we need to go ahead and remove the lid temporarily. So we're going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and remove this screw, one on each side. All right, now we're going to go ahead and slide the canister cover towards the cab of the truck and lift it off of the canister. Okay, this is our driver's side rail. Now you'll notice you've got a couple of screws going through the top. That is going to be the cab side. This goes right up to the canister. On the outside edge, you should have a little bit of rubber gasket that's coming out from underneath the rail. That's exactly the way it's supposed to look. Also on this end, this part of the opening track will be bent down. That's to accept the cover going into it. You'll also see you've got like a little piece right here. It gives you a little notch. This part of the canister has to slide into that notch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and line that up to the inside of that notch. Before we can slide it all the way in, we have to turn the latch to pull the latch back out of the cover to where it disengages from the rail. All right. Now we can go ahead and push the rail towards the canister. To make sure that this goes up underneath, what I like to do is push up on the bottom of the canister with my knee, and then I can work that seal underneath the seal on the canister, then drop it back down into place. Make sure the rail and the canister are forward enough so that whenever you close the tailgate, the rail will fall to the inside of the tailgate. Now on our tailgate end of the rail, on the bottom side, we're going to have an aluminum block that's attached to the rail. That's got a threaded hole going through it. That should line up directly to our bracket, the hole that's in our bracket. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to drop this down to the bracket. If the bracket isn't quite lined up to it, move the bracket around. That's the reason why we have this finger tight for right now. Then we can go ahead and out of our kit, we've got a small Allen head screw with a small lock washer. We're going to line that up and we're going to put that in just finger tight. We are not going to use tools at this point because we still need to be able to adjust this and move it around. Now the only major difference when you're installing this rail along with the in-bed handle is now this bracket is going to go over top of the factory stud. You will reinstall the 13mm nut, tighten that down, and then we can go ahead and tighten down the Phillips head screw. All right, now as we move up along the rail, we're going to run into our next aluminum block that's attached to the rail. That also has a threaded hole in the bottom of it. So we're going to take one of our L-shaped aluminum brackets that has a hole in the bottom. We're going to take one of our larger Allen head bolts with a larger lock washer. The bolt goes up through the bottom and line it up to that threaded hole. Again, we are not using tools to tighten this down. We're just getting it finger tight for right now. All right, now we're going to move along our rail to get to our final aluminum block with a threaded hole in it. We're going to install our L bracket with the larger bolt and lock washer the exact same way as we did the last one. Only finger tight. Do not use tools at this time. Now we're going to go ahead and move all the way up the rail to where we meet the canister. Now there's going to be a hole in the rail at the very bottom. That's where we're going to actually physically fasten the rail to the canister. In our kit, we're going to have a small Phillips head machine screw that's going to go through that hole, and on the opposite side of that hole we've got a thin piece of aluminum that has threads in there. That screw is going to go through those threads. Typically, to get this machine screw through this hole, I'll have to lift up a little bit on the canister with my knee to get that hole to line up. Once that hole lines up, the screw goes through. We can put the other piece on the back side and screw it together. All right, now we're going to repeat the exact same process for the passenger side rail. All right, next what we're going to do is measure the inside of the rails at the canister end. You should come up with right at 59 inches. Then we're going to turn to the tailgate end and measure between the rails there. Make sure we have the same measurement. All right, now if that rail does not line up and you need more adjustment into the bed of the truck, you would want to loosen up this bracket. Place these shims behind the bracket, one behind the bottom side, one behind the top side, and then tighten the bracket back up. Okay, now that everything is lined up, we're going to go ahead and tighten everything down, but torquing sequence is crucial. So we're going to start with this bracket. We're going to go ahead and use our 7/16 wrench or ratchet and tighten that down. Next, we're going to use our smaller 3/16 Allen wrench and go ahead and tighten this one down. Next, we move to our front clamp. We're going to use our larger 1/4 inch Allen wrench and tighten that one down. Do not over tighten these, just get them nice and snug. And now we're going to use our 1/4 inch Allen wrench to go ahead and tighten down this one. Just get it nice and snug, do not over tighten it. And we can go ahead and put this back, repeat the exact same torquing sequence on the opposite side. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and undo the strap from the canister. Once we have the strap free from the canister, go ahead and pull it forward and turn the latch into the lock position. Go ahead and pull this all the way to the tailgate. All right, now out of our kit, we're also going to grab these Phillips head self-tapping screws. We're going to go to the canister and we're going to drill through the canister into the canister bracket to attach the two physically. Do that on both sides. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the canister cover the same way that it came off. Now this is the cargo shield. I'm on the driver's side, passenger side is the exact same. You got a round hole that goes to the top, an oval hole that goes to the bottom. Those are going to line up to these two locations on the canister. What we're going to do is flip this upside down. In your kit, you're going to have some components. You'll have some Phillips head bolts that go through the hole. And then the opposite side, you'll have a rubber washer. I'm just going to seat that rubber washer onto the end of the threads to hold that in place. And I'm also going to put another Phillips head bolt into the other hole and do the exact same thing with that. Seat the washer onto the threads so that it holds it in place. Next, I'm going to go ahead and line those up to the holes that they're going to screw into. Once that's lined up, I can take a Phillips head screwdriver and screw it in place. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our drain tubes. This particular truck, again, it has a bed rug liner. So what I'm going to do is this bottom tie down, where it's cut open, I'm going to go ahead and run the drain tube through this hole. And if I had a drop-in bed liner, a plastic drop-in bed liner, I'd do the exact same thing. If I have a spray-in bed liner or no bed liner, I'm going to go directly below the drain tube on the canister and go about 8 inches down and drill a hole into the bed of the truck. It's a 1/2 inch hole to run the drain tube out there. Once I've got the drain tube going through the hole, then I just put it onto the canister itself and repeat the same process on the opposite side. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do your initial maintenance on the cover. You'll get a bottle of 303 aerospace protectant, take the cap off of that. What I like to do is take and spray a bunch of the 303 into a microfiber cloth. Now I'll take that microfiber cloth and I'll run it into the rail and lubricate the rail with the 303 protectant. Do that on both sides. You can also take the 303, spray it on the surface of the microfiber, and wipe it into the vinyl surface on the cover, and that does a great job of protecting that from the sun rays. Now at the end of the strap, there's a carabiner. I like to attach that to a tie-down hook next to the tailgate. That helps to keep the strap out of the way. Make sure you never leave your strap on top of your canister. That way it doesn't get trapped in between the bed and the cab, because that way it can get wrapped around the drive shaft. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.